Part 14. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Jonghu Buletin. Chapter 131. You might have wanted to do something that you couldn't do as a human before. After all, you have become a vampire now, and you are also suppressed by levels. Naturally, you have to solve the problem from the top. Both of them almost risked their lives, but now they are choked to death. Maybe, it would be more comfortable to deal with these two people than to watch them licking their toes. Xie Tingzhou laughed when he saw that Lin Yan's love started to gurgling and mixed with Lan Ruimen's, which seemed to be a group for warmth. Does this prince look like the kind of villain who kills innocent people indiscriminately? Such a face of his struck Lan Ruimen's face, which shocked Lan Ruimen, especially when he saw those golden purple pupils, and his noble and elegant movements even when he was sitting in the car. Lan Ruimen, I really can't imagine what it would be like for such a vampire prince to kill someone. Are you going to directly suck up all the other party's blood? Or use other methods? No, it's not like. Lan Ruimen shook her head and gave her own answer. After all, if this vampire prince liked to kill innocent people indiscriminately, wouldn't he, Taoist Chu and the others be killed after they entered the cave? But the vampire prince also needs to eat, right? As the name suggests, vampires need to suck blood, so how does a vampire prince who can survive until now exist? Just when Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan had such an idea in their minds, the two people in the car behind who had no idea that they were being eavesdropped continued to chat. They didn't know that this was not their private chat channel at this time. It was directly converted into a group chat of 5 people, except that the 3 vampires were diving to peek at the screen and eavesdrop on their chat. Hey, just reported, but this vampire prince turned 2 humans into vampires. It's okay now. It's late at night. If it's daytime, wouldn't vampires be able to see the light? So what? Do it? Chu Dingshan sighed. It was because of the vampire prince he met that his heart broke. However, Xin Yunqing understood more clearly. He's a vampire prince, is he still afraid of the sun? Today we shined such a big light on him, but he didn't react at all. Do you think he is afraid of the sun? That flashlight is a super large light source and can basically illuminate a range of dozens of meters. No one is afraid of such a large light source, let alone the sun. That's right, but is it appropriate for the 2 of us to just follow them to the villa like this? Let's not talk about going to someone else's house. The key is that the 3 of them are vampires now. Your Highness will not say anything. If he is hungry, I will definitely do it. Let's suck it for him, but what if those 2 people who just became vampires didn't control their blood sucking for the first time and sucked me dry? After hesitating about that, he hesitated about this again. Chu Dingshan had no time to be happy that he had returned to his youthful appearance, and felt that he was walking towards a road of death. Probably not. If they really need it, I'll ask the hospital to get some blood. And isn't it said that vampires can also suck blood from animals? Let's buy them some animals and let them suck it. Xin Yunqing's mind was also spinning very fast. He didn't care about the 2 vampires Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan, but when he thought of Xie Tingzhou, the vampire prince, he felt that if the other person was hungry, he would be willing to have his blood sucked. Along with Xin Yunqing's thoughts, his love danced under Xie Tingzhou's feet, and the cheerful meaning seemed to say, come and suck me. As for Chu Dingshan's love, he carefully stayed aside but was reluctant to leave Xie Tingzhou's side. Xie Tingzhou moved his feet and pushed these enthusiastic little guys away. Is he so hungry and unscrupulous? The 2 humans who have just become vampires are also thinking about this. Since they have become vampires, they will need to suck blood in the future, so what will they do in the future? Should I go to a blood bank to buy it, or should I buy blood from animals? The 2 new vampires had little experience, so they looked at Xie Tingzhou curiously. Your Highness, how did you solve the food problem before? Is it as romantic as in TV series and movies, falling in love with the most innocent girl, and then in a dark castle, with blood in a goblet, or is it like lying on someone's neck to suck blood? Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan were both very curious about this question. Xie Tingzhou, as a party involved, said there was no pressure at all. They will actively invite me to suck blood, but I only like pure humans. Xie Tingzhou was still very proud when he thought of the human beings in his memory who were frantically begging for blood. However, as a top vampire, Xie Tingzhou did not get hungry very quickly, that is, only once a week. He was not hungry when he just woke up and had plenty of time to find the right person. Food. Of course, some foods will also be cute, deliberately brought to him and wanted to be tasted by him. Two humans who had just become vampires didn't understand what circumstances would allow a human to actively invite a vampire to suck blood. Is it love? Or, good looks? However, when Lin Yan and Lan Ruimen's eyes fell on the face of the prince, they seemed to think it was normal. The ultimate love is to give the other person everything they want. This is normal. Then, they must love His Highness the Prince very much, right? Only in this way can they willingly want to be sucked by His Highness the Prince's blood. Lin Yan said this, and he thought so in his heart. After all, His Royal Highness is so good looking, who would not like him? The world of face control is so unreasonable. Just a face is enough to make people's hearts beat. What's more, when seeing His Royal Highness, the idea of kneeling down and kissing His Royal Highness's toes is not impulsive, but eager to try. He thought so in his heart, and the love flowing around Xie Tingzhou's fingers began to carefully want to touch, but was waved away by Xie Tingzhou. No, humans who are sucked by this prince can get health and beauty. They don't love this prince, they love themselves more. Humans have always been a selfish species. This answer made the car fall into silence. For a moment, I didn't know how to redress the injustice for humans, but think about it, if you are sucked by a vampire, you can get health and beauty, don't you want to be sucked? Don't you want to be sucked? Really don't want to? Don't you want to have health and beauty? So, maybe liking His Royal Highness is one thing, but being able to get health and beauty at the same time is another, so, why does His Royal Highness feel a little reluctant? It feels like being taken advantage of. In the rearview mirror, Lin Yan and Lan Ruimen looked at each other and always felt that His Royal Highness didn't seem to like sucking blood. As for what happened in the middle, I don't know what happened. In the car behind, Xin Yunqing remembered that he had called the captain to call the police before. At that time, I thought that this vampire prince had a case, but now the phone was destroyed by myself, so I quickly dialed the captain's phone number. Captain Xiongke, who was still searching for the situation in the unfinished building of Juyang Real Estate, received another strange call. The police generally don't refuse strange calls because they want to prevent special things from happening. Hello. At the moment of answering the call, Xiongke was in a very irritable mood, and now he heard the voice of Xin Yunqing who was searching. Hello? Captain, it's me, Xin Yunqing. At this moment, if Xin Yunqing was in front of Xiongke, Xiongke would probably have thought of giving Xin Yunqing a beating. Where the hell are you? Gritting his teeth, Xiongke clenched the flashlight in his hand. At this time, the people around heard the captain's voice and fell silent. I'm on my way home, but something happened. I can't explain it to you right now. Can I report it to you seriously tomorrow? It was late at night. If I went to the police station, the boss in front didn't know how to arrange it. Xin Yunqing thought it was better to deal with it tomorrow. And it can also determine whether this vampire prince is afraid of the sun, which will make it more convenient to contact him later. So you called me for help at 11 o'clock in the middle of the night, and then I dispatched a team to locate your phone. After arriving at Juyang building, you told me that you were gone? Where the hell did you go? I want to hear what happened that made you play tricks on us like this. Did you know that a crystal coffin was found in Juyang building? Regardless of whether there was a person lying in it before, this is a case that needs to be investigated. Xiongke was furious, but he still had to comfort himself in his heart. This is his own police, his own. You went to Zhuyang building? And found the crystal coffin. Xin Yunqing was also shocked. He never expected that the call he made would make the captain take people directly to Zhuyang building. He suddenly felt very strange, the happiness of being cared about and the bad mood of getting into trouble were combined together. Stop talking nonsense. Tell me quickly, have you seen that crystal coffin? What's inside? Is it a person? Dead or alive? What happened here? No trace of death was found at the scene, although mobile phone powder and 4 footprints were found. There were 4 when they came and 4 when they left. So what about the things in the coffin? Was it taken away or transported away? One of the footprints was the size of Xin Yunqing, so Xiongke suspected that this little apprentice had encountered a case. Alive. Alive. Hey, Captain, I can't tell you about this now. Just think of it as me begging you. I will report to the police station immediately tomorrow morning. I must explain the matter to you clearly. I really can't explain it now. In the end, Xin Yunqing was still afraid that the captain would say something else, so he hung up the phone directly, which made Xiongke on the other end so angry that he almost threw his phone. But after knowing that Xin Yunqing was still safe, he could only shout to everyone. Xin Yunqing is fine, everyone gather. Everyone is tired tonight, let's have a midnight snack tomorrow. Let Xin Yunqing treat us. As soon as these words came out, everyone around laughed. It was good to get the news that Xin Yunqing was safe. As for the case, it was not something that could be investigated in one night. Ordinary policemen like them also needed to rest. If it weren't for Xin Yunqing tonight, they would never come out to work overtime in the middle of the night. The people in the police station quickly dispersed, and in the darkness, another species also appeared in this unfinished building in a magical way. After finding the cave, they went in. After seeing the cordon left by the police and the crystal coffin, they immediately knelt on the ground. My greatest blood prince, you are really awake. The future world is the era of us vampires. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 132. Yes, there are other vampires in this world. Not only that, but there are many. They are hidden in the darkness and mixed in the crowd, but on the surface, they look like harmless humans. Maybe in the rented house next door to you, there is a guy who doesn't go out to eat takeout for a long time during the day. He only dresses up and goes out in the evening. Do you think he is going to a nightclub? No, no, he might just be hungry and need to find food. Why do you think this beautiful and glamorous girl started working day and night? Does she like to stay up late? Occasionally you went to visit her during the day and found that her face was as pale as a ghost. You advised her not to stay up late in the future. Do you think she fell in love with staying up late? No, no, no. Maybe she is just very simple and can only go out to work at night. Among the species of vampires, except for the blood slaves who lost their minds after being bitten, other vampires, as long as they were converted by normal first embrace, all have the rationality before the first embrace. They just changed their bodies from humans to vampires. It's not like I just replaced you with a vampire's brain. Therefore, in the rapid development of this great era, many vampires have been produced. There are vampires who are like those in novels who are aloof, doing business or owning family businesses, and then there are vampires who are at the bottom and need to work hard all day long. Vampires cannot see the sun or go to school. Without sufficient education, it is even more difficult to find a job. On such an ordinary night, the vampires around Shangjing City felt that a powerful vampire prince had awakened. This is the inheritance from the bloodline. Therefore, many vampires are swarming here. However, the human world is changing with each passing day. In order to prevent humans from discovering their traces, they cannot fly over directly. Of course, it is possible that they do not have this ability. The fastest one was the vampire in Shangjing City. At this moment, he was kneeling on the ground and kowtowing. Then the next moment, he was directly stepped on the ground by a black boot. Huh? Where is Prince kneeling? Are you waiting for someone to lead you to destroy the world? You have a great villain mentality. Come with me to the police station to receive some ideological education. The woman who spoke was wearing a black leather coat and sunglasses in the dark night. At this time, the leather coat outlined her figure so perfectly that the vampire lying on the ground did not dare to move at all. My lord, my lord. Please let me go. Please let me go. The vampire who was trampled under his feet was completely unable to resist. The suppression of his bloodline directly pressed him to the ground. He could only make a pleading gesture because he felt that the person behind him was also a vampire, even an earl with a more advanced bloodline. So the only thing I can do is beg for mercy at this time. Oh, look at you like this. You're acting like what I'm going to do to you. Don't worry, I don't kill people, and I don't kill vampires either. It's time for you to change your anti-world thinking. Dongying, come here and take me away. Walk. While the woman was speaking, she had already put the handcuffs she had prepared on the vampire's hands. At this moment, the vampire seemed to be burned, and his whole body was stiff and did not dare to move. If you look carefully, you will find that the vampire's wrist is a silver handcuff, literally, a silver handcuff. Okay. Sister Kinhui, do you really think a vampire prince has awakened? How powerful must the vampire prince be? Dongying was a little girl. After being called over, she saw the unlucky vampire beside her. She glanced sympathetically at the stupid kid who had no brains and still wanted to be a villain. I have never seen a vampire prince in all my life. I have only seen a duke. Isn't there a vampire duke abroad? When we went to help subdue him, he could destroy a city with the power of a vampire. Lu Qinhui, who was questioned, took off her sunglasses at this time, revealing a pair of red pupils. She is also a vampire, and she is a relatively high-level vampire count. She has lived for thousands of years. At this time, she looked at Dongying to follow. Granddaughters are no different. Then what should we do? Look at the crystal coffin inside. If there is really a vampire prince, or he has awakened, it would be a terrible cause. When Dongying spoke, he took out his medical kit, then took out a test tube with a smile and looked at the unlucky vampire in front of him. Come on, open your mouth, ah. The controlled vampire's life was in their hands, so naturally he could only open his mouth. Then the vampire was about to be vomited. When the test tube came out of his throat, he retched twice and saw the little girl putting a test tube inside a glass test tube. The water inside quickly changed from transparent color to became blue. Seeing the blue test tube, Dongying turned cold and looked at the vampire. Sister Kinhui, let's deal with it. This vampire is useless. She changed from cute to indifferent, even with a bit of disgust. Lu Qinhui took it for granted and directly pulled out the silver knife specially prepared for her from the top of her thigh. The next moment, she saw Lu Qinhui holding the silver knife. The way it looks when poked. What vampires are most afraid of is silver and sunlight, but garlic is actually not that afraid. You. Why did you kill me? The vampire asked this question before dying, but Lu Qinhui sneered. Don't you know how you survived? The blood in your mouth is still hot. Accompanying Lu Qinhui's words, the silver knife stabbed into the vampire's heart, nailing the vampire to death. After that, other professionals will move the vampire's body out, and then wait until the sun comes out tomorrow to let the body bask in the sun, and it will turn into dust in the sun. This set of procedures has been done several times, and Dongying is used to it, curling his lips. We have already established a vampire association, and if you donate and draw blood regularly, you will get free blood bags, but there are still some vampires who like to kill people. I just hope that the vampire prince this time is a person who has a good impression of humans. That's right, she just stabbed the test tube into the vampire's throat to test whether the vampire has eaten blood. They can already perfectly detect whether the vampire eats the blood of the living or the dead. Under normal circumstances, those who like to attack humans and kill people like to drink hot blood. Some milder and harmless vampires like to drink blood from the blood bank. Vampires are mutually inductive, so after the country discovered this species, it started a blood bank plan, which contains various animal blood and human blood, all of which are provided to vampires for consumption. Vampires also have to contribute to the country and do some special tasks. But now the times are different. The highest level vampires are earls like Lu Qinhui, who have the power of speed. She can cross 200 meters in an instant. This speed is the limit that humans can never reach. As for vampires below the Earl, at most they are immortal. In fact, their abilities are not that strong, and humans can still kill them. Lu Qinhui was recruited after the founding of the country, and later she has been working for the country. She can eat human food, eat blood once a week, 200 ml at a time, which can be said to be very easy to feed. The most important thing is that she may only eat human blood once a year, and most of the time it is animal blood. The agency they are in now is called the Vampire Association. It is dedicated to controlling vampires and preventing them from killing people. What they usually do is to arrest some vampires who commit crimes, and there are some foreign loaned personnel, etc. This time, Lu Qinhui happened to be in Shangjing City. When the vampire prince awakened, the suppression of her blood made her kneel on the ground, and such a terrifying power made Lu Qinhui very afraid. They came here after discussion, but they didn't catch up with the prince's awakening. Now they can only beg that this blood prince has a good impression of humans. After all, the ability of blood above the prince is something that no one has seen now. 300 years ago, a foreign vampire duke killed more than 100,000 people, and even suffered heavy losses when they passed by. Now that the vampire prince appears in the country, it is difficult for people not to think too much. Have a good impression of humans. Do you mean humans have a good impression of food? Lu Qinhui smiled and deliberately teased Dong Ying, adding. As far as I know, most vampires above the rank of Marquis have lived for at least 5,000 years. Do you think they are still human? Do they still have feelings for people? My little one, just look forward to a safe night. Lu Qinhui had seen vampires that sucked thousands of people dry overnight, so she didn't dare to imagine how powerful this vampire prince was. Baizian, a teammate at the side, also came over. After the satellite positioning arrived here, it seemed to be affected by the magnetic field. No clear pictures were taken at all. The images near Juyang building seemed to disappear in the satellite images in the past 5 hours. He reported the situation, and Lu Qinhui was not surprised and nodded. We can't find the vampire prince tonight. We'll wait here first and get a batch if we can. Sure enough, many vampires came later, some friends and some enemies. Everyone was curious and afraid of the awakened vampire prince, and they also had an indescribable complex of emotions. After all, the blood of vampires is suppressed. He is a prince. You can't help but kneel down after seeing him. And at this moment, the vampire prince who was missed by everyone was already sitting in Lan Ruoming's villa. He was holding a mobile phone to check the situation in this world. Several people beside him didn't dare to say a word. After Xieting Zhou finished reading the current information, he looked at the dancing love at his feet and sighed. It turns out that this prince has been sleeping for so many years. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhang Buletin Jian. Chapter 133. Listening to the vampire prince's sigh, some of the people present really didn't dare to ask how many years these years were. Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan's eyes fell on Xin Yunking's face, and they looked at it with two pairs of red eyes. Xin Yunking's hair stood on end. Even so, Xin Yunking had no choice but to bite the bullet and say, "Your Highness, you have already understood the current situation. To be honest, I am a policeman who manages social order. Times have changed. The world belongs to the people, and the leaders above are also responsible for it. Dear citizens, if you want to survive in this society with your current status, you'd better apply for an ID card. This way, it will be convenient for you to do whatever you want to do in the future." Xin Yunking knew that he couldn't hide his little thoughts from the vampire prince, so he might as well tell them openly. Chu Dingshan was also shocked by his friend's frankness, but Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan's murderous pupils were much calmer now. ID card, Xieting Zhou thought of this thing that he had not owned for a long time. He entered this world relatively early. At that time, vampires, werewolves, and humans all lived in this world, but humans were the weakest existences. Now that humans have become stronger, vampires are still hiding in the darkness. The vampires found are all fictional novels and TV dramas, and the werewolves are nowhere to be seen. It seems that ordinary people in this world don't know the existence of vampires at all. Yes, it is a small card that proves who you are. Your Highness, look, this is my ID card. I am Xin Yunking. Xin Yunking showed Xieting Zhou his ID card. After reading it, he remembered that he didn't know the name of the prince at all, and he didn't dare to ask more questions. Okay, the prince will take care of it with you tomorrow. Xieting Zhou was still very gentle. He agreed directly, which shocked Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan. They were vampires. Why do you need to apply for an ID card? Vampires must have their own way of life, right? As a result, Xieting Zhou was the calmest one when faced with the shocked looks in their eyes. I used to live with humans. Humans please me and like me. I give them health or beauty. I hate some vampires who have no sense of boundaries. They obviously only appear at night, but they have to do it to themselves. Like a vicious villain who wants to rule the world all day long. Xieting Zhou's words made the two humans and two new vampires present stunned. They thought that this vampire prince didn't want to rule the world. Chu Dingshan imagined that if he became a vampire prince, he would definitely create a career, just like in a certain novel, he would create his own dark kingdom. Become the king of the dark kingdom. What a cool throne of darkness. But in front of this vampire prince who is full of power and can make people live forever and even have eternal looks. He doesn't want to rule the world. Why? Xin Yunking accidentally asked the question that everyone wanted to ask. Xieting Zhou sneered at this. I don't have to rule the world. Human beings all have to please me and are vying to lick my toes. If I rule the world and have to manage them, how tired would I be? Why can't I? To live a comfortable life, do you have to serve humans and other races? Being a leader requires responsibility for other lives? This. A living salted fish vampire prince appears. This is a vampire who after awakening does not want to rule the world or create his own legend, but just feels comfortable living by himself. For a moment, the two humans present and the modern people who were once humans all thought of what was said on the internet before about lying flat. Anyway, you can't roll up, so you will be happy when you lie flat. So, the vampire prince in front of me is lying down, right? That's why I let humans serve me, and then I don't have any ambitions. So, what kind of master did I fall in with? Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan were also shocked. I originally thought that what I was getting was a dark evil that was about to rule the world and become the top vampire among the world's vampires. But I didn't expect that what I got was a servant script about living a comfortable life in the human world while serving the lying vampire prince. Xin Yunqing also discovered at this moment why the vampire prince who had just woken up did not attack them in any way. It was because he might have been with humans for a long time before he went to sleep, so he was able to get used to it. And, if the whole world was full of vampires, do you know how boring it would be? Xieting Zhou asked a question that no one could imagine. If the vampire prince took many powerful vampires to create various blood slaves, create vampires of various levels, and finally break through the human world, then the final outcome for humans would definitely be damn it, what would it be like in a world where only vampires existed? I can tell you that if the whole world were vampires, technology would not progress and entertainment would not develop. Vampires have long lives and will only die in wars. When only vampires are left in the world, then it's a hell of killing each other. This is the most real result. The short lifespan of human beings has also prevented the occurrence of many large-scale wars. If everyone lives forever, many things will not be able to continue to progress. This is a rule that Xieting Zhou has summarized after traveling through tens of millions of worlds. The peak of a species is extinction, and the new life after extinction is a new kind of fire. For a moment, the four people in the room were silent. They didn't expect that, they didn't understand as well as an old antique vampire that had just been unearthed. However, Xin Yunqing felt relieved. Since this vampire prince did not intend to destroy the world, but planned to get along with humans, that was easy to say. Just looking at the gift of this vampire prince is already exciting. The country will definitely protect this vampire prince well. After letting go of their worries, Xin Yunqing and others found that the vampire prince seemed to like playing with his mobile phone. Lan Ruoming was a live broadcaster, and there were several mobile phones at home, so she continued to teach Xieting Zhou to play various apps. The vampire prince soon set his sights on a 5v5 combat mobile game, and then successfully formed a team and started his first game journey after waking up. This is not Xieting Zhou's fault. He has been a vampire for too long. When he was born, various technologies had not yet developed. The daily activities he played were watching human performances. What's the point? No matter how interesting it is, it will be meaningless after thousands of years. After getting the phone back, Xieting Zhou felt like he had become a human again, so he started playing happily. The account was naturally bought, although no matter how well the vampire prince played. But Lin Yan and Lan Ruoming insisted that His Royal Highness must win this war. Chu Dingshan and Xin Yunqing couldn't even imagine what would happen if the vampire prince lost and rushed over to kill the person on the other side of the phone in a rage. So we must win. We must win. 2 hours later, the number they bought was on the king, and they won all the way. The four people were completely serving His Royal Highness Xieting Zhou, the prince, and they came all the way to give him heads. It can be said that they played very happily. As for who was happy, I won't say. In the latest game, the opponent actually encountered a very powerful anchor team. They came for training, and they would definitely not be able to beat them. Chu Dingshan and Lan Ruoming even opened the microphone to expose their vests, hoping that the opponent would be bad, but the opponent didn't listen at all. It depends on me. Although Xieting Zhou didn't think about winning all the time, seeing that Chu Dingshan and the others wanted to win so much, he turned on the microphone and said, "I want to win this game, you guys retreat." Simple words, after being transmitted through the mobile phone, seemed to have magic in an instant. The enemies who were still fighting just now suddenly became quiet. Every account was motionless, and no one spoke. Xieting Zhou ran all over the map and killed them all. The following battle was very smooth, and they pushed all the way to the crystal and won. When seeing this victory, the two humans and the two new vampires had mixed feelings. "Your Highness, how did you make them give up fighting us just now?" Xin Yunqing was very curious. Charm, one of the vampire skills, can use voice and appearance to charm the enemy. As long as they hear my voice, they can be controlled by me. Xieting Zhou said casually, but everyone present was shocked. They thought of the uncontrollable appearance when they saw His Highness sleeping. Could it be charm? You are a vampire now. Charm is one of your bloodline skills. Practice it more. This was said to Lan Ruimen. Lan Ruimen knew that her skill was charm, but she had never used it, so she looked at Chu Dingshan and Xin Yunqing, two humans. I can't do it, I can't do it. Chu Dingshan shook his head repeatedly, but his eyes met Lan Ruimen's deep red pupils and he was instantly charmed. What is your bank card password? Lan Ruimen asked this question like a devil's low voice, making Xin Yunqing beside him laugh. And the stunned Chu Dingshan really opened his mouth. 3, 6, 5. Okay, you don't need to say it. Lan Ruimen interrupted Chu Dingshan's answer and was immediately overjoyed. She didn't expect that this charm was so powerful. Chu Dingshan, who reacted, was stunned for a while and then collapsed. Lan Mengmeng, are you still human? You used your charm skills on me, and that's fine. You actually asked me for my bank card password. Why don't you ask me how much money I owe on Huabi and inherit my aunt Huabi? Hearing such a roar, the few people who knew Huabi laughed so hard that they fainted. Xie Zhou looked at the four people around him and felt that the day he woke up was pretty good. He likes the hustle and bustle, likes the feeling of having people around him, but he still likes it to be more lively. Thinking of the stars on TV, ordinary people in this world will definitely allow themselves to be stars, right? After all, being a star is more meaningful than destroying the world. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 134. Several people played games until dawn. In the end, only Chu Dingshan and Xin Yunqing were hollowed out. After all, these two are humans and the other three are vampires. They only need to act at night. What? You said vampires are a species that sleep during the day and move at night? Sorry, the vampire prince can tell you seriously that when the vampire prince wakes up after a long sleep, he will be awake for a long time. This situation can last for hundreds or thousands of years. So, Xie Zhou doesn't need to sleep anymore. He has been sleeping for too many years. At this moment, the vampire prince was so energetic that he didn't look like he had stayed up all night. When the first ray of sunlight in the morning fell from outside the window, the villa here had huge floor-to-ceiling windows, and the early morning light fell down. At that moment, it was like giving the vampire prince in front of him a perfect layer of soft light. Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan hid in the shadows, while Lin Yan and Xin Yunqing stared blankly at the vampire prince in the morning light. Even if you don't use the charm skill, anyone who sees this face will be bewitched, right? Xie Ting's whose long hair is draped softly on his shoulders, and the top of his head is still the dazzling crown, but none of these can hide his face. When the soft sunshine in the morning kisses his cheek, that handsome face with sharp edges, it is as if it has been carefully carved, and the shadows on the side of the nose seem to be tailor-made for the other person. The most important thing is that Xie Ting's whose skin is extremely white. It is not the kind of dead white, nor is it colorless white. It is like milk, but more silky than milk. It starts to emit little bits like diamonds in the sun, as dazzling as the light. The sun seemed to have recustomized the makeup on this face, carefully kissing the perhaps cold skin of the vampire prince. This scene was simply dumbfounding. Only at this moment did Chu Dingshan and Xin Yunqing understand why people said that the best beauty is the indisputable beauty of male and female, just like the vampire prince in front of them. He was clearly sharp and angular, but his long hair gave people a softness. It's a feeling that makes people dare not invade. It has a sense of nobility that makes people want to kneel down and surrender. Oh my God, is this the top vampire? Not afraid of the sun, and even enjoy its caress. At this moment, Lan Ruimen had a weird idea for some reason, wanting to kiss this person's skin instead of the sun. Her love became even more intense, and she was ready to move around Xie Zhou. She carefully hid at the moment Xie Tingzhou waved his finger. Lin Yan's love was surrounded by people. Chu Dingshan and Xin Yunqing were immediately seen clearly. They were jumping around with joyful love spinning around their feet. They seemed to be very happy, but they did not dare to offend. Under the morning light, Xie Tingzhu's golden purple eyes were even more radiant, sparkling with a color that made people obsessed. These eyes were more gorgeous than all the jewelry on his body, making people unable to take their eyes away. But if you dare to look directly into the eyes of a vampire prince, you will fall in love and be controlled by this vampire prince forever. The vampire prince has its own charm skills, just like the mythical hydra that cannot be looked directly at. Whoever looks into her eyes will be turned into stone. If humans look directly into the eyes of the vampire prince, they will be involuntarily attracted and charmed, and become followers of the vampire prince. What are you hiding over there? Xie Tingzhou looked at Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan aside, confused. The two humans, who had just become vampires, still believed that vampires were afraid of the sun and did not dare to come out. Then they heard Xie Tingzhu's voice and walked out. At this moment, the sun also shined on the two of them. They were very nervous, but they found that there was no burning feeling, but they felt very comfortable. Last night, they played games together, and Lan Ruimen handed Xin Yunqing his mobile phone. When she was young, she discovered that she was really no longer human, and she no longer had the warmth of a human being. That's right, the body temperature of a vampire is freezing cold. People like Xie Tingzhou are even more freezing cold. Otherwise, how could they have such fair skin? I can bask in the sun, I can come out during the day. Lin Yan sighed, stretched out his hand to touch the sun, and looked at his completely unmodified hands with a very complicated mood. Now there are no pores on Lin Yan's whole body. Every piece of skin is a cold-blooded white, but he is at least 100 times more handsome. Standing in the sun, he can attract everyone's attention at once. Not to mention Lan Ruimen, her red pupils looked not only not scary at this time, but also had a strange beauty. They looked like red gems under the sun. In addition, her eyes had now turned into royal ones. Anyone can be charmed by my sister's face. Hey, it's good to be a vampire. Look at how good looking these two are now. Let alone the internet celebrity circle, they can just be in the entertainment industry. Chu Dingshan sighed, thinking that people are more irritating than others. How could these two become vampires? Chu Dingshan was a little moved, but in fact he was still afraid. If he became a vampire, would his parents still accept it? Can you still live like a normal person? Not everyone can have a strong mentality like Lan Ruimen. Many people are complacent and fearful. This is the reason why they cannot become strong. A truly strong person never cares about what others think. You can't envy this, and vampires have to suck blood. Can you accept it? Xin Yunqing is open-minded. After all, his current strength is comparable to Superman, so even if he can't become a vampire, what does it matter? He can see clearly that Lin Yan and Lan Ruoming are just lucky to become the tools of this salted fish vampire prince. In the future, they will definitely be servants beside him, so he still hopes that his power can help more people. As a policeman, Xin Yunqing knows how many people he can protect with such a powerful power, so he does not regret it and pats Chu Dingshan on the shoulder. At least you have eternal youth. When I am old and my teeth have all fallen out, you will still look like you were when you were young. Wouldn't you be happy then? After Xin Yunqing's persuasion, Chu Dingshan was resurrected with full blood again. He really felt happy and no longer entangled with these things. The three vampires heard the conversation between the two, but they didn't care. Lan Ruimen became a host just to make money and to strengthen herself. She had more pursuits and believed that following His Royal Highness the Vampire Prince would definitely bring her more benefits. Her heart was extremely strong and she would never back down. As for the long life in the future, when her parents and friends and relatives left, that was just the final inevitable path. Lin Yan didn't think so much. He just instinctively wanted to protect his sister, just like he often blocked Lin Ruimen's wine at the dinner party. He became a vampire now to continue to protect his sister. He didn't think much about other ideas. When it was light, they continued to play games. Lin Yan was the only one who could cook, so he took on the responsibility of cooking for everyone. After asking His Royal Highness what he wanted to eat, he started cooking, and Lan Ruimen helped him. In less than an hour, a table of food was cooked. Before, Lan Ruimen had been doing various live broadcasts at night and couldn't get up during the day, which damaged her stomach. Lin Yan learned to cook so that he could help his sister's stomach. Now he can serve Xie Zhou better. Wow! Lin Yan, you are awesome. So many dishes. There was a table of food to eat early in the morning. Chu Dingshan gave Lin Yan a thumbs up, thinking that if he had this ability, why did he just be a little assistant to his sister? What can't he do? But he also understood that they had a deep brother-sister relationship. It was not easy for a little girl to mix in the live broadcast circle. It would be better to have a boy to protect her. Well, you can tell me what you want to eat in the future, and I will cook it for you. Lin Yan vaguely regarded Xin Yunqing and Chu Dingshan as his own people. After all, they were all people who knew the situation of His Royal Highness. Xie Zhou sat in the main seat, and his temperament was even more elegant. Even eating was extremely noble, making people feel that he was not eating an ordinary breakfast, as if he was attending a banquet. He tried every dish very politely. He hadn't eaten these things for many years, but Xie Zhou was in a good mood. Lan Ruoming found that she could be full by eating these things, and she felt relieved. She just didn't know when she would have the desire for blood, but she couldn't say these words for the time being. Everyone was very happy with this meal. After Xie Zhou finished eating, everyone was going to put down their chopsticks, but he said that food should not be wasted, so everyone continued to eat. Lan Ruoming and Lin Yan became vampires, and their stomachs seemed to be like black holes, and they could eat anything. Chu Dingshan was so full that he leaned back on the chair, and Xin Yunqing beside him was also eating happily, and finally ate all the dishes on the table. Xin Yunqing thought that this should be because his strength had increased, so his appetite had also increased. Wouldn't he be a glutton in the future? Xin Yunqing thought of Popeye in the game, who could only hit people after eating vegetables, and he laughed happily. Xie Zhou glanced at the love at his feet, and the love turned into a cute little man with big muscles, showing off the muscles on his arms at his feet, looking silly. After dinner, it was time to do business. Go to the police station to report. This time, everyone was taken away from the villa by Xin Yunqing, and the target was the Yunnan District Police Station in Shangjing City. When Xin Yunqing led people into the police station, the auxiliary police at the door saw Xie Zhou's gorgeous dress, and felt shocked. I don't know why my legs were a little weak, but I didn't think much about the red eyes of Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan. Nowadays, young people like to play role-playing games. The eyes are not only red, but also red, blue, yellow, green, blue, purple, and so on. It's not surprising. Even a head of hair can become colorful. The police have seen the world and are not surprised. Xin Yunqing took them to the lounge of the police station. After arranging them in the lounge, they went directly to the captain's office. The chief of the police station was on a business trip recently. When he arrived at the office, he saw the captain Xiong Ke sleeping in the office again. Captain. Xiong Ke was sleeping and was woken up. When he opened his eyes, he saw Xin Yunqing, who had pissed him off last night. He rushed over with a fist, but Xin Yunqing quickly stopped him and easily controlled his captain. He looked at the captain who had just woken up and was a little confused, and had some bad taste. Captain, I want to tell you something. Don't be afraid. Do you know? There are vampires in this world. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Bulletin Jian. Chapter 135. The confusion in his eyes gradually disappeared, and Seongke, who was still a little angry, raised his lips in a sneer. "Oh? Tell me, you called me in the middle of the night last night. You were kidnapped by a vampire, right? Why didn't he suck you dry?" Although he is not young anymore and is in his early 40s this year, Captain Seongke has still watched various vampire movies with his daughter, such as Twilight XXX, in which the vampires blend into the human world. "You are busy dating humans and having children, do you think it is suitable?" To Seongke, this thing is like his daughter coming back one day, bringing a chicken and telling him, "Dad, I fell in love with a chicken. We are true love and we want to get married." For vampires, aren't humans just food? Anyway, Seongke doesn't understand this so-called love and thinks it's just a trick to deceive girls. "No, Captain, I'm serious, it's the kind of real vampire. Have you ever heard of the vampire prince? It's the kind that can transform you into a vampire, immortal, and with eternal beauty." Shin Yunking tried his best to explain, but Seongke continued to laugh. "Yes, and he is handsome. He is over 1.8 meters tall. His skin is white and will glow in the sun. His eyes are either red or a strange golden color. He is also very well dressed and has a lot of gems on his body. Wealth is compelling, right?" He sneered at Shin Yunking, teasing him about the idol drama his daughter had watched, just to see his idiot-like expression. As a result, Shin Yunking was stunned and looked at his captain in disbelief. "Oh my God! Captain, how do you know he is such a vampire prince? He is handsome, over 1.8 meters tall, with white skin. And his eyes are different from human colors. Captain, have you ever seen a vampire? Is it not with us? Have you ever come into contact with a vampire somewhere you know?" This is true, that's what Shin Yunking thinks. After all, he believes that there must be many mysterious and unknown things in this world, and vampires are one of them. Seongke was really about to laugh angrily. Looking at the apprentice in front of him, he gave Shin Yunking a headache and said, "Of course I've seen it. I've seen it in my daughter's idol drama movie. Brad, I think you're crazy, right? Where did you go yesterday? What happened to the crystal coffin in Joyong Real Estate?" His continuous questioning made Shin Yunking realize that his captain didn't believe him and thought he was joking. "Captain, I'm serious. I really met a vampire prince last night. It was in the crystal coffin you saw. When I saw him, he was lying inside. Later we took him away. I came out and went to my friend's villa. We came to the police station together this morning just to apply for an ID card for this vampire prince. He likes humans and won't hurt us." Shin Yunking continued to explain, but in the eyes of Seongke, it was just nonsense and complete nonsense. "Haha, it's broad daylight now. Aren't vampires allowed to go out during the day? You'd better bring the vampire directly to our police station and apply for an ID card for the vampire? Do you think it's for filming a TV series? If they are vampires, why don't they just go directly? Suck you dry?" And when we arrived at the scene last night, there were only 4 people's footprints going back and forth. There were 4 people when you went there and 4 people when you left. So where is the extra vampire prince? Could it be that he was carried by you? Hold it? Or carry it away? After all, he is the captain of the criminal police brigade. Through the analysis of his footsteps last night, Seongke easily determined that 4 people walked into the cave, and then 4 people walked out. The depth of the steps was the same, so if there was one more vampire, how did this vampire come out? He was confused when asked by the captain, and quickly remembered what happened last night. Of course he was flying. He flew out of the coffin, and he was also flying when he came out with us, so it's normal that he didn't have any steps. Shin Yunking explained, but what he got was the captain's new head. "You made it up? Are you making it up again? I have already told my colleagues who went to see you last night. You invited them all to dinner after get off work today. They all got off work yesterday. Everyone came to you in the middle of the night to find you at 2 or 3 o'clock. You stink. Don't try to hide from this, kid. We have to treat you tonight. Captain Seong-K still had Sin Yunking in his heart, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to lead people to find him in the middle of the night. He was also sincere now. Sin Yunking was moved when he heard this and nodded immediately. Captain, don't worry, I will definitely treat everyone to dinner tonight, but you have to believe me, Captain, I really met a vampire prince. Not only that, he also gave me power. I am now like Superman. Do you believe it? Sin Yunking felt that he had to prove something. Otherwise, how could such a stubborn captain believe in himself? So he caught sight of the ashtray on the table, stretched out his hand to take it, and then performed a squeezing glass directly in front of Seong-K. I saw that the glass ashtray the size of a table tennis racket turned into dust in Sin Yunking's hands. This scene made Seong-K stunned. He thought of the broken mobile phone he saw last night. He was a little suspicious, but he still didn't dare believe. You won't have replaced this ashtray with some prop to trick me, right? Taking Sin Yunking's hand and looking at it, he found that the hands were still in good condition. Seong-K had a strange guess in his heart. When we arrived at the cave last night, there were pieces of broken mobile phones inside. Was it because of you? Sin Yunking's eyes lit up and he nodded quickly. Yes. That was my phone, and I crushed it. I had just gained power and was so excited that I crushed the phone into pieces. Seong-K was shocked. He didn't believe it at first, but Sin Yunking, his disciple, was not a disciple who liked to lie, so he stood up immediately. He went to the corner of his room and picked up the barbell he often used for exercise. The barbell was very heavy and large, weighing 5 kilograms. In other words, this thing couldn't be fake, it was made of real iron. You crush this. He lifted the barbell and felt the weight. After confirming the authenticity of the thing, he handed it to Sin Yunking. Okay, Sin Yunking nodded, took the barbell, and then crushed the 5-kilogram iron barbell into pieces in front of his captain. That's right. How much power does it take to crush iron into pieces? If it hits a person, it would probably kill him with one punch, right? Seong-K was sober now, and looked at the powerful apprentice in front of him and said, "Did you really meet the vampire prince?" This time the question was serious, not a joke as before. Yes, it's in the lounge now. After waking up last night, the vampire prince also transformed 2 humans into vampires, but they were willing. I brought them here to make a report and record. Even if they are other species, they all need respect and protection, right? This vampire prince is so powerful that he is almost as powerful as the national treasure panda. The country should not want to have such an enemy and will take protective measures, right? Take me to see. Seong-K believed it all. After that, the two immediately left the office and entered the lounge, and saw the people sitting in the lounge. Among so many people, Seong-K saw the long-haired vampire prince wearing a crown at a glance. Because when he met those golden purple eyes, he suddenly felt his legs go soft, and he had an urge to kneel down, and for some reason, he especially wanted to get close to such a person. At this moment, Seong-K's love had appeared beside Xie-Ting-jo, rudely pushing away the love of others, and then sat on the tip of Xie-Ting's shoes to show off. "Hi, Your Highness, the Vampire Prince, hello, I am Zhang Xian from the Criminal Police Brigade of the Yunnan District Police Station in Shangjing City. Welcome to our police station. Because we have never received a vampire like you before, I want you to prove that you are a vampire, okay?" He was not afraid, and the joy in his heart made him feel a little close to the vampire prince in front of him. When he spoke, he was not as irritable as when he beat Sin Yunking before, but was tender and affectionate. Yes, Yeting Zhou nodded, then opened his mouth, and huge fangs appeared instantly. This is definitely not something that can be made by special effects. It is impossible to happen all at once in reality. But Xiong Ke saw the fangs of the vampire just like that. There was no fake element. It was a real vampire. Lin Yan and Lan Ruimen on the side also opened their mouths, revealing their sharp fangs, which made Xiong Ke understand that these two vampires were the humans that his apprentice had said were willing to become vampires. I have confirmed your identities now, Your Highness. I would like to ask your name. I know you are here to apply for an ID card. Speaking with some caution, Xiong Ke immediately looked away after looking into the golden purple eyes for the first time. Now he felt that he was a little out of control. He should be afraid and terrified when seeing a vampire, and even be vigilant, but now Xiong Ke felt that he was very close to this vampire prince, as if he was confused. And this vampire prince who had been awake for several hours said his name. Xieting Zhou. After all, a name is required for an ID card. The other people silently recorded this name in their hearts, not knowing that this name will be known to the whole world in the future. Okay, I'll ask the director here and arrange for you to apply for an ID card immediately. How about this, Yunqing, you take the prince to take pictures first, and I will arrange the ID card later. After the instructions, Xieting Zhou followed Xin Yunqing to take pictures, while Xiong Ke called his director. The director on a business trip received the call and answered it quickly. Old Xiong, what's the matter? Xiong Ke took a deep breath and said. Director, I want to tell you something, don't be afraid. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 136. What's going on? Is there a big case? Or is there something going on in the bureau? Director Cao, who had seen strong winds and waves, was so calm. He just woke up from the small hotel. This time he was handling a case across provinces and had a meeting at the same time, so he got up relatively early and just received a call from Xiong Ke. There is a vampire prince in our police station, and isn't it just unearthed? I want to apply for an ID card. Chief, how do you arrange this matter? Should I do it or not? If this is an ordinary person, after checking the identity and confirming that there is no problem, he will make arrangements directly. But the problem is that this is a vampire, so even if he can apply for an ID card, Xiong Ke needs to ask the director. Ah! What did you say? What are you sucking? What kind of water ghost? Director Cao felt that he had just woken up, but he didn't seem to have woken up. Otherwise, how could he hear Xiong Ke say such things? Weird. A vampire. It's the kind of vampire in movies and TV shows, with long teeth and sucking blood. The kind that looks so handsome. When Xiong Ke said these words, he almost gave himself a big-eared melon seed. What was he talking about? How can I talk about my daughter's TV series? Not reliable or reliable. Director Cao didn't want to speak. In his mind, there was something like the unhygienic vampire in the TV series that lay on people's necks and sucked on people's necks. He really didn't like it. But Director Cao was a man who had seen the world, so he was calm as he thought that he would go back in 3 days. Oh, you're talking about vampires, I know. Isn't that the kind of strange species that doesn't want to eat well and just wants to fall in love with its own food? You said a vampire is applying for an ID card at our police station, right? No problem, you can help me get my ID card first. I'll be back here in a few days, and I'll come and meet this vampire in person. Hearing Director Cao's words, Xiong Ke gave a thumbs up in his heart. The director is awesome. No wonder he rose so fast. He was not afraid of even a vampire in the police station. He was so awesome. Compared with the chief, he still loses the face of the police and his style is not stable enough. If he goes out like this, how can he make the people trust him more? There is also this newly discovered vampire species. As a policeman, he must be very calm to serve them. Okay, director. Don't worry, I asked Yun Qing to follow me. When you come back, you can talk to the vampire prince in person. You will inevitably have to deal with him in the future. After all, people have superpowers, and they can make others have superpowers. Xiong Ke thought of his apprentice's infinite power, and was very excited. Okay, then I'll go back and meet the vampire prince again. Now I'll leave this matter entirely to you. Director Cao was grinding his teeth to pieces. He wished he could take the car back now to see what kind of liar he was. He was so awesome that he actually deceived the police station. Now the captain of his criminal police team will be deceived by this liar. Director Cao tried hard not to be angry. After all, not everyone is so smart. Okay, then I will issue a temporary ID card to His Royal Highness. You can go ahead and see you in a few days. Xiong Ke didn't hear Director Cao's sarcastic words at all. Instead, he felt that he was worthy of being a director. He was as steady as an old dog in anything he encountered. Oh no, he was as steady as Mount Tai. It was worth learning from him. The caller on the other end hung up immediately. Director Cao didn't want to say a word to such a fool who had been deceived. Xiong Ke really thought that Director Cao asked him to handle this matter, so he turned back and came to Xieting Zhou again. I just called the director to report this matter. The director said that this ID card can be issued. You can just follow the normal procedures. However, it will take about 15 days to make it. I will ask Xin Yunqing to give it to you then. Xiong Ke said sincerely, and then added. But if you, Your Highness, want to go out these days, I will issue you a temporary ID card first. In this case, if you want to go out for fun, it is no problem. However, due to your special status, I plan to arrange my disciple Xin Yunqing will stay with you temporarily. Do you think it's appropriate? After all, he is a vampire prince. With such a big killer, Xiong Ke dare not leave him alone, so it is best to have an apprentice follow him and record what the vampire prince usually does. Okay, Xieting Zhou is not averse to being followed. He actually has the ability to summon other vampires, but he just came to this world and doesn't like being surrounded by so many vampires. He wants to be quiet first, otherwise those vampires will always want to kneel on the ground to get something. His gift is boring. Seeing His Highness the vampire acting so cooperatively, Xiong Ke was in a good mood and looked at Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan aside. And you too, please give me your ID cards. Now that you have a special status, I need to file a record for you and make an entry of your identity. I believe that you will not break the law or discipline when you follow His Highness the Prince, but the filing still needs to be filed. This is a process. Neither Lan Ruimen nor Lin Yan thought that one day they would be registered by the police station. This was different from what they originally wanted. Especially Lan Ruimen, when she learned that Xieting Zhou was a vampire, she also wanted to follow this adult, imagine the ghosts in the darkness, and imagine the rise of a dark empire. Isn't it exciting? But in fact, this newly awakened vampire prince loves playing games and is very Buddhist, and has no bad thoughts about humans. The dream of the underground dark kingdom was shattered. Lin Yan didn't feel anything. Anyway, whoever he serves as a servant now is not a servant. Even if he is a worker, it is no different from a slave. Besides, he will have a long life and an ageless face in the future. For him, life will only get better and better. After filing, Xieting Zhou's temporary ID card was also sent over. Xin Yunqing wanted to go with Xieting Zhou. As a master, Xiong Ke was reluctant to leave. He kept telling Xin Yunqing all kinds of things, such as being nicer to His Royal Highness, and approving 10,000 yuan of funds for Xin Yunqing. Xie Zhou floated in the air impatiently, lowered his head, and saw Xiong Kei's love at his feet constantly jumping and hopping, and then trying to grab the corner of Xie Ting's clothes. Xiong Kei was obviously talking to Xin Yunqing, but his love had betrayed him. For such a sincere person, Xie Zhou didn't mind giving him a favor. Xiong Kei. He suddenly spoke, causing Xiong Kei to pause while holding his apprentice's hand. He felt a little embarrassed. When he looked at the vampire prince, he felt that his little thoughts seemed to be seen through. "Are you willing to be my believer?" Xie Zhou asked, as if he was talking about something that was very ordinary. But the next second, Xiong Kei nodded immediately. "Yes, Your Highness, of course I am willing." If he wasn't in the police station now, Xiong Kei felt that he would kneel down to the vampire prince in front of him, but in a place like the police station, his faith would always be the people. As for being a believer of His Highness, hey, there are still true love and wall climbing in this day and age when chasing stars, the people should forgive his brief derailment. Xie Zhou stretched out his hand, and Xiong Kei walked over unconsciously. The next moment, in front of everyone, the purple mist from Xie Ting's hand entered Xiong Kei's eyes. At that moment, Xiong Kei felt that his eyes were inexplicably a little cold. Blinking, the purple mist had disappeared. "This prince gives you the eyes of charm. No gangster prisoner will lie in front of your eyes. Good guy. A human-shaped lie detector." Xiong Kei's eyes were shining immediately, and he really wanted to kowtow to the vampire prince in front of him. But he still held back such excitement and immediately thanked. "Your Highness, thank you for your gift." Xie Zhou nodded, and Xiong Kei turned his head directly to Xin Yunqing the next second. Before Xin Yunqing could react, he met the master's eyes. The pupils that were already a little old, at this time, there was a flash of purple, and then Xin Yunqing was a little flustered and heard the master's words. "Yunqing, what's your bank card password?" Good guy, probably everyone who has the power of charm wants to ask this. 345654. Xin Yunqing gave a password directly. "Ouch, I knew your card password before, but I asked in vain." Xiong Kei slapped his head and suddenly remembered. Xin Yunqing also woke up and was speechless for a moment. "Master, you have such an ability, why don't you try those prisoners?" "I will tell you the truth even if you don't have this ability." This scene made Chu Dingshan laugh, and everyone was smiling and thought it was very funny. "Okay, follow His Royal Highness, I'll go and try my superpowers." "Oh, by the way, if His Royal Highness wants to buy something, don't be stingy, buy it first, and then the police station will approve it for you, and money is not a problem. He now has eyes that can make people unable to lie. When the time comes, solve some old cases, won't the money roll in? At that time, I will buy delicious food for His Royal Highness. If it doesn't work, I can go to the blood bank to buy blood, or donate it myself." Xiong Kei didn't know at this moment that his love was at Xie Ting's feet. Because he was too calm, his love kept bowing to Xie Zhou. The little ball was so cute that Xie Zhou felt that it was more fun to get along with humans. Xiong Kei personally sent people away from the police station, and then hurried to interrogate the prisoners. Many cases before had no results. Then half an hour later, he interrogated a stubborn prisoner and got the result. Before, the prisoner had always refused to admit that he had killed and buried the body, but now he came out directly when asked, and also detailed the process of the crime, which shocked Xiong Kei himself. He decided, "In the future, I must solve more bizarre cases. Make more money to buy blood bags for His Royal Highness. Otherwise, I will be sorry for the superpower given by His Royal Highness." Moreover, as a criminal police officer, he can help more innocent victims and punish criminals, which instantly ignites a burning passion in Xiong Kei's chest. Suspects. Your nemesis is here. From now on, I am the light of the city. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Jonghu Buletin. Chapter 137. When he came out of the police station, Sin Yunqing was actually confused. After all, he originally thought that he would shock everyone by bringing back a vampire prince. However, he did not expect that everyone in the police station was shocked, but he was shocked by Xieting Zhou. His good looks, and Xiongke, the only one who knew the truth, seemed to quickly accept the existence of vampires. Thinking of his performance last night, Sin Yunqing felt that he was still not as good as his master. He couldn't handle things calmly. Seeing how calm his master was after receiving the gift of the vampire prince today, he must study hard. Okay. Your Highness, where do you want to go now? In fact, it's getting late now. I came to the police station in the morning. There is a process to go through when doing things in the police station. It's about 11 o'clock now. Sin Yunqing is a little worried about whether His Highness the Prince is hungry. He is very concerned at this time. Eat Xieting Zhou gave a simple answer. As soon as these words came out, Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan suddenly felt a deep hunger coming from their bone marrow, which made their red eyes shine strangely. But besides Xieting Zhou, the vampires held back. Okay, what do you want to eat for dinner? We have a lot of choices in the food in the human world, including hot pot, steak, Japanese food, and the Chinese food you had before. What do you want to eat? Sin Yunqing now serves Xieting Zhou as the leader above him. After all, the leaders go out until noon and have to eat well. Sin Yunqing knows that several shops do good food. Hot pot. Xieting Zhou gave his choice without hesitation. What can anyone else say? The two vampires Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan are both servants of Xieting Zhou, so they naturally listen to Xieting Zhou, and Chu Dingshan doesn't know why he is here or why he is following here. Finally, the group went to the hot pot restaurant. It was not the peak traffic period at this time, but there was no need to queue. After entering the private room under the arrangement of the waiter, the hot pot journey began. To be honest, Xieting Zhou really misses hot pot. Although he is immortal as a vampire, Xieting Zhou was born too early. Xieting Zhou has existed since the existence of vampires. At that time, the development of human beings was still very backward. What's delicious? The food was so unpalatable that Xieting Zhou felt it was particularly delicious even when he took a bite of the hot pot. Everyone was secretly observing His Highness Prince Xieting Zhou and felt that His Highness the Vampire Prince was extraordinarily down to earth. Even though he was dressed gorgeously, he felt like one with the hot pot when he was sitting here eating hot pot. That's right. Clothing. Thinking of the waiter's eyes that were about to be blinded when he led them in, Sin Yunqing said without hesitation. Your Highness, your clothes are no longer suitable for our current human life. How about I take you to buy some clothes after dinner? Xieting Zhou was naturally wearing clothes that had been with him for a long time. He was clean and comfortable without having to clean them. However, thinking of his simple dream, Xieting Zhou nodded. Kindness. The matter was decided like this. Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan were both thinking about how much money they had on their bank cards and what kind of clothes they would buy for His Highness when they arrived at the mall. Sitting next to him is the 18-year-old boy Chu Dingshan, who is perfectly doing what a human anchor likes to do most, scrolling through hot searches. On the way here, Chu Dingshan's cell phone kept buzzing. Chu Dingshan took it out and found that it was the administrator of his live broadcast room. After looking at it again, he realized that the other party said that he was on the hot search. Seeing the first hot searches on Weibo such as #sleepingbeauty and #within 10 minutes Chu Dingshan suddenly thought of the prince in front of him. After clicking on it, it turned out that it was I saw the scene of my adventure last night. In the scene, my lens fell on His Highness the Prince's face, making His Highness the Prince's face shine like a sparkling diamond. The most important thing is that there is an animated picture in the second hot search, which happens to be the way His Royal Highness wakes up. As soon as he opens his eyes, those charming golden purple eyes capture everyone's heart in an instant, making people involuntarily ask, "Tell, who is this person? I want to know who he is." My heart seems to be moved all of a sudden. Never underestimate the charm of a top vampire, even if it is just an unintentional mistake. The third ones on Weibo are #shu and ##. After another look, after last night's live broadcast, the number of fans increased by more than 200,000, and there are even more fans on short video live broadcast websites. More than 300,000. Is this an overnight success? Your Highness, you are on the hot search, do you need us to deal with it? Chu Dingshan still told Xie Tingzhou, who was having an elegant meal, about this matter. Although Xie Tingzhou was completely different from the vampire he imagined, maybe it was a local variety? His Royal Highness does not look like a foreigner. No need. Xie Tingzhou was not surprised that he was on the hot search. He was just waiting for more people to know about him, whether they were vampires or some special people. At this time, some people also saw Xie Tingzhou's photos. "Qinhui, look at this photo. Is this a vampire? How powerful does he have to be to look like this?" Dong Ying was working on cooking. After all, even the staff of the country's special department still need to work. They deal with vampires all day long. Dong Ying has many vampire friends around her, and she most often plays with Lu Qinhui and her sister. "I just checked the hot search at this moment, and I saw a handsome vampire. Lying in a crystal coffin. Alive. And the skin and golden purple pupils that were like diamonds under the light, my God. Is this the vampire prince they are looking for? Why is he so handsome?" Lu Qinhui was also stunned at this time, and came over to look at the photo. As a result, the next moment, when she met the golden purple eyes, the instinctive blood suppression made Lu Qinhui kneel on one knee instantly, which scared Dong Ying. "This is the blood suppression between our vampires. He is very strong. He is the strongest vampire I have ever seen." Golden purple pupils. Lu Qinhui also smiled bitterly at this time, thinking that many years ago, just dealing with a duke, more than 100,000 people died, and hundreds of vampires died. Now there is a vampire prince. How to deal with this? Dong Ying's face immediately became serious and said seriously, "Then we have to find him and see what he is going to do this time. For example, once a high-level vampire wakes up, it will not fall into a deep sleep for at least 100 years, and for a prince-level vampire like this, 100 years is enough to cholera a world." Just when the two were talking, Weibo automatically recommended a message. "Excuse me, do you want to follow the vampire prince Xie Tingzhou?" "That's right." Weibo recommendations are very intelligent. As long as you keep browsing a certain kind of news, it will continue to recommend relevant information to you. Lan Ruoming applied for a Weibo account for Xie Tingzhou. After the Weibo account was opened, people followed the Weibo information of Lan Mengmeng and Chu Dingshan to follow. Now it is increasing at a rate of several thousand per second, so the system will give this recommendation. Dong Ying followed this recommendation point and saw a new account. It seemed that someone took the photo of the vampire prince. He was in a place similar to a private room, looking over lazily. Just a photo attracted countless people's attention. "Qinhui, I think, this vampire prince seems to be easy to get along with. He even opened a Weibo account now." Dong Ying's instinct of being a face lover made her like Xie Tingzhou all of a sudden, and she added a fan to Xie Tingzhou. Lu Qinhui frowned, took a look at Xie Tingzhou's Weibo, and kept analyzing various possibilities in her mind. In the end, there was only one answer. This vampire prince's eyes are golden purple, so his charm level must be higher than mine. Maybe you have been charmed now, and he can appear in the sun if he continues to charm humans like this. Sooner or later all humans in this world will surrender to him. So, Does this vampire prince want to attract his believers through such a network communication method, and then turn those humans into his servants or blood slaves? Dong Ying didn't dare to speak. She really didn't know if she was bewitched. After all, when she saw Xie Tingzhu's face, she instantly felt a sense of love at first sight. Xian, have someone investigate this Taoist Chu and Lan Mengmeng. I suspect that the vampire prince is with them. Find their contact information and let's meet. As long as they meet, we will know what the vampire prince wants to do after waking up. Yes, Sister Qinhui Bai Xian immediately started to investigate. Xie Tingzhou and others who had finished their meal were shopping in the mall. Xie Tingzhou attracted a lot of people's attention along the way. After arriving at a store, Xie Tingzhou chose a black silk shirt for himself, with white pants underneath and shiny leather shoes. This set gave Xie Tingzhou a sense of nobility. His jewelry and clothes were carefully held by Lan Ruoming and Lin Yan. When they saw His Royal Highness the Prince coming out of the fitting room, they were instantly fascinated by Xie Tingzhou dressed in such a modern way. Without the crown on his head, his long black hair obediently draped over his shoulders, giving Xie Tingzhou an androgynous beauty. He fiddled with his hair a little uncomfortably, and the clerk next to him excitedly came over and got a rubber band from somewhere, and tied a high ponytail for Xie Tingzhou. After this tidying up, he was even more handsome after revealing his face. Do I look good? Xie Tingzhou seemed to be radiating charm all the time. He asked the clerk, with a faint smile in his voice. You are very handsome, the most beautiful person I have ever seen wearing this suit. The clerk gave the answer without hesitation, but he didn't expect the beauty in front of him to continue asking. Then if I become a star, will you like me? His golden purple eyes looked over, making the clerk lose his mind instantly and nod frantically. Of course I do, I am willing to be your first fan. You will definitely be the most popular person in the entertainment industry. Everyone on the side was stunned. Wait, what is His Royal Highness talking about? He wants to be a star? A vampire prince wants to become a star. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 138. Just like many humans' understanding of legendary creatures, if a vampire really appears, wouldn't it mean that he would either become a villain or fall in love? Why does it seem that His Highness the Prince does not belong to the series at all? For a moment, Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan looked at each other, somewhat confused as to why His Highness the Prince would be interested in being a star. After all, stars are commodities created by capital. Although they are sought after by others and earn a lot of money, they are not. Some people even have huge prejudice against celebrities. For example, Lan Ruimen actually had a falling out with her family because she wanted to be a host because her mother saw Lan Ruimen's side-scrolling videos. But in fact, in today's internet, anyone is willing to do anything for the sake of fame. Yes, men are also wiping it, exposing their abdominal muscles in various ways, just to be popular. Lan Ruimen just has a sexy figure, and it's not like he has anything to do with the Big Brother. So, in fact, Lan Ruimen, as soon as you choose a host, you know what you should and shouldn't do. Nowadays, the path to becoming a star has different channels. In the early years, it was only the actors who were good-looking and good at acting who could be remembered by the audience after they acted in many dramas. But now, with the tout of capital, they can quickly become the so-called top actors. Flow. Thinking of the face of His Royal Highness, it is not a problem for him to become famous overnight, but in the future, if he encounters chaos in the entertainment industry, he doesn't know whether he can bear it. After all, even if it is an anchor, the company sometimes wants to arrange for the anchor to accompany investors to have dinner. This anchor is not only a female anchor, but also a male anchor. Everyone is a social animal and works hard to survive. Chu Dingshan also had the same idea. If he were a vampire prince, how could he ask the rich to give him health or regain his youth? What kind of money could he not make? Do you have to go to the entertainment industry? But just when Chu Dingshan was thinking this, a phone call came from an unknown number. He has a habit of answering unknown calls. After all, as an anchor, it's easy to have days and nights, and he often eats takeout. "Hello," Chu Dingshan said. "Chu Dingshan, right? Hello, we are the head of the Shangjing City Division of the National Vampire Association. Are you staying with the vampire prince named Xieting Zhou now? Where are you now? We will go there right away." Chu Dingshan was stunned when he heard this. The little girl on the other end of the phone had a nice voice, but Chu Dingshan didn't recognize anyone she said. National Vampire Society. And this thing? Chu Dingshan's accent was full of confusion. Dong Ying on the other end also knew that it was really not easy for a human to accept that there were vampires in the world, so he explained. "Yes, I am from the National Vampire Association. You should already know the identity of the other vampire. Don't worry, the country has known about the existence of vampires for a long time. It has even been working with a small number of vampires. We also went there this time. If you want to put this prince on record, you may be able to conduct follow-up cooperation, just like a civil servant." Dong Ying explained carefully, after all, vampires have to work part-time while living in this world, so most of the vampires in the National Vampire Association are civil servants. Each vampire is paid according to his ability and number of attendances, and some are ordinary. The last generation of vampires can get about 50,000 yuan a month, as well as a free bag of blood food every day from the National Blood Bank. Of course, not only that, but the country has also developed a kind of artificial blood for these special vampires. Unfortunately, it can only be taken by vampires and cannot enter the human body, so not many people know about this kind of thing now. Civil servant, oh my god. Even vampires can become civil servants. Thinking about the scarcity of the position of civil servant in recent years, there are almost hundreds or thousands of people competing for one position. Good guy, a vampire identity can be solved immediately. Wow wow wow, so envious. I'll ask His Highness the Prince first. Chu Dingshan's mind was spinning quickly. After all, the other party could find his mobile phone and call him, and maybe it had satellite positioning. Even if he didn't tell him, the other party would also come to him. Chu Dingshan will always believe in the power of the state machine, as long as the other party is a real person from the state. So I told Xieting Zhou about this matter, and Xieting Zhou was not surprised. After all, humans have been thriving for so many years. It is naturally impossible for vampires to be exterminated casually. Most vampires will accumulate huge wealth because of their long lives. Some people like to give people their first hug at every turn. And only at certain special times, vampires will create many blood slaves to deal with wars. After Xieting Zhou agreed, Chu Dingshan reported his location. It was a relatively prosperous cafe in Shangjing City. The cafe here not only provided coffee, but also milk tea and other drinks and snacks. In order to make His Royal Highness happy, I directly ordered a table. Anyway, Xin Yunqing, a big eater, could finish it all. Xieting Zhou will take a sip of every milk tea and coffee, and the same goes for snacks, one sip is enough. Xin Yunqing, on the other hand, didn't care at all that this was something His Highness the Prince had eaten. He immediately picked it up to eat after His Highness the Prince had finished eating. Please. A dim sum here costs 40 or 50, which is less than the size of a palm. It's so expensive that Xin Yunqing's heart is bleeding. Okay. So be sure to eat it all. The same goes for Chu Dingshan. Although he is a boy, eating delicious food is everyone's nature and cannot be distinguished by gender, just like people instinctively think that boys should like blue and girls should like pink. As a man, Chu Dingshan also likes pink and milk tea snacks. Is he not a man? Just when several people had almost finished eating the food on the table, a group of people came in. The cute girl in blue work clothes is Dong Ying, and there is a young boy in black uniform Baizian, who is carrying a computer. The other two people dressed like special forces in science fiction dramas, which directly shocked the people in the private room. Lu Shifeng was wearing a black leather jacket, which seemed to be one piece, which perfectly wrapped his figure and revealed his handsome face. He took off the black magic mirror and blew a whistle. Lu Qinhui is even hotter, wearing a black leather jacket, a coat, black shorts, and black boots, revealing her absolute leg control. The sound of her high heels on the ground is like a foot on a person. The two look a bit similar, and it can be seen that they are siblings. Hey? This prince is pretty good looking, Lu Shifeng joked in a playful way, and Lu Qinhui on the side looked at Xie Tingzhou sitting there warily with a bad look. Lu Qinhui still believes that Xie Tingzhou must be doing something bad if he takes the initiative to appear in the human world. Hello, I am Lu Qinhui, the director of the Shangjing City Division of the National Vampire Association. I am glad to meet you. She said so, but the next moment, the two of them knelt on the ground with a plop, which scared Dong Ying and Baizian on the side. You know, Lu Shifeng and Lu Qinhui are already the most powerful vampires in their country, but how about the vampire count? But now the brother and sister are kneeling on the ground, as if they are suppressed by some force. They try to struggle, raise their heads and accuse Xie Tingzhou with angry eyes. Xie Tingzhou sits there, with a bit of superior laziness, and his golden purple eyes fall on the two vampires. Little friends, you should be respectful when you see the ancestor. His voice is flat, and it seems that there is no anger, but everyone can feel the displeasure of this vampire prince with everything that is happening now. Why should I kneel to you? Lu Qinhui is not convinced. Since she became a vampire, she has been invincible in the world, and her recovery ability is super strong. She has never kneeled to others again. Now she is forced to kneel here, and the suppression of her blood makes her unable to move. The same is true for Lu Shifeng. Although he looks like a playboy on the surface, he is actually proud of his identity as a vampire. He will play with people, but he never falls in love with humans. Lu Shifeng knows that he has a long life, while humans only live for 100 years. After all, they are not a species. As for why he would work for the National Vampire Association, it was because he had been bored for a long time. How is Lu Sheng? Xie Tingzhou asked a name. This name stunned Lu Shifeng and Lu Qinhui. Because this is the first generation of vampires in their family. The real immortal ancestor. Lu Sheng was probably 3,000 years ago. It is said that he has a beautiful face and anyone who sees him will be fascinated. This is the ancestor of the Lu family, a real vampire duke. When this prince saw Lu Sheng's beauty, he gave him a face that will remain youthful forever, but it seems that he still failed this prince. When Xie Tingzhou saw the Lu family, he felt Lu Sheng's blood. Lu Sheng still abandoned his human identity and became a vampire, so the Lu family now has vampires. This was recorded in the Lu family tree. The ancestor met a god and was granted eternal beauty. Later, he traveled to the west and became a vampire duke at the age of 100, but later died in a battle with a werewolf. Now the two Lu family members dared not be arrogant anymore. They immediately put away their arrogance and looked at Xie Tingzhou with respect again. They had taken off their sunglasses, revealing their two pairs of red eyes. The vampire count with impure blood should only create blood slaves after the first embrace, right? It seems that you are atonement. Xie Tingzhou saw through the two old monsters who had lived for 1,000 years at a glance. At the beginning, it was Lu Qinhui who was bitten by a vampire first. After evolving into a vampire, she connected her soul with her brother, making her brother Lu Shifeng also a vampire count. But if the two of them gave others a first embrace, the other party would become an irrational blood slave. Thousands of years ago, all their relatives and friends died here. The two people's red eyes shed blood and tears. The 1,000-year-old guilt was seen through by the prince in front of them. They lowered their heads and sincerely expressed their submission. Xieting Zhou did not deliberately embarrass them. Seeing that the two people were sincere in admitting their mistakes and the two people at his feet also kowtowed and apologized, he released his blood suppression. Get up, you are too late. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletinjian. Chapter 139. As a vampire prince, Xieting Zhou naturally felt that there were other vampires in the world the day he woke up. Vampires have the suppression and influence of blood. Higher vampires can sense and control lower vampires. This is deeply rooted in their blood. Therefore, Xieting Zhou believed that the moment he woke up, many vampires around him must have sensed it. Xieting Zhou found it strange that the country's vampire association came so late. I tracked down the place where you woke up last night. I just dealt with some disobedient similar people, so I arrived too late. Lu Shifeng explained, more than just a few things were dealt with last night. The awakening of the vampire prince caused many vampires who had previously hidden in the crowd to come out to watch the fun. In addition to those from their association, they found that many of them had lives in them. The charm of vampires and modern technology were enough to prove it. Has a vampire ever harmed a human being? People like Lu Shifeng and Lu Qinhui who have lived for thousands of years are antiques from ancient times to the present. It is the most comfortable to eat national food. Some young people today think that after awakening as vampires for some unknown reason, he is the son of destiny and the purple star of destiny. He can build a dark underground kingdom or something like that. But in fact, let alone building any dark underground kingdom, within the past 1000 years, many vampires have lost the ability to embrace for the first time. To put it bluntly, people who have been bitten by vampires are dead, and those who are not dead are dead. They may become the lowest level of blood slaves, and blood slaves have no thoughts. So, how can an ordinary vampire create a dark kingdom? Even counts like Lu Shifeng and others got friends who became blood slaves after their first embrace. Blood slaves are the lowest level among vampires. They have no thoughts, only eat, and like blood. They cannot move in the sun during the day, and their skin will turn into a gray-purple color. We came here this time because of the work arranged by the state. Now my sister and I work in the National Vampire Association. All vampires who have a good impression of humans will join the National Vampire Association and will be given certain civil servant treatment, in addition to the basic salary. Humans have created a kind of artificial blood for us to drink. Of course, each vampire can receive blood from the blood bank 7 times a week. Human blood only has one chance to receive it, but animal blood can be drank at will. This sounds a bit controlled, but for vampires, you don't have to go out to find prey, you can choose whatever you want to drink, and a month does not mean working for 30 days, basically 3 days a month. A 5-day shift, followed by a break. After all, humans cannot force a vampire to obey human laws. People like Lu Shifeng and Lu Qinhui, who go to work 3 or 4 times a year, mostly only take action when they encounter the most difficult things, such as the vampire prince's awakening this time. So I would like to invite you to join the National Vampire Association. He said this tremblingly. Although he was getting up, Lu Shifeng clearly felt that the vampire prince in front of him was a completely different kind of vampire from them. His power was, even surpassing his ancestor Yajiao. Xin Yunqing and Chu Dingshan on the side looked at the scene in front of them, feeling familiar and strange at the same time. Familiar because no matter how powerful a vampire is, they would kneel down when meeting a prince, but strange because even vampires have an iron rice bowl these days. Hey, no wonder it's harder for everyone to find a job. Then what do you usually do for work? Xieting Zhou was very curious. Since humans knew that there were races other than mine, they did not take action and even lived in peace with them. There must be some origin in this. In addition to vampires, there are wolves in this world, but most of the wolves are abroad. In the early years, the country began to build the Vampire Association for the first time, but there are still some evil-doing vampires who escaped abroad. Our mission is to, when they commit a crime, kill them. To put it bluntly, vampires kill vampires, because vampires kill humans. Xieting Zhou didn't understand it, but he respected it. But this prince doesn't like that kind of work. I hate any low-level vampire equally. They should not exist in this world. Generally, they are like high-level vampires, whether they are princes, dukes, marquises, earls, etc. In fact, after biting people, the most common thing is to turn a human into a blood slave. If they bite tens of millions of people, one of them may be lucky enough to become a blood slave. One of the last vampires, a sane vampire, then begins a cycle of continuing to do evil. As for the link between Lu Qinhui and Lu Shifeng, generally vampires can only have one life link. So this is why vampires cannot increase and reproduce. The success rate is too low. How can they dominate the world? The most important reason why humans can control and dominate this world, besides intelligence, is because there are so many. Lu Shifeng was stunned for a moment and quickly made amends for himself. Don't worry, you just need to join the National Vampire Association in name. Under normal circumstances, we will handle the work ourselves and pay you a salary. You can do whatever you want. To put it bluntly, it is just a name that shows that there is such a vampire prince who is harmless and close to humans. As for whether the vampire prince works or not, no one cares. As long as there is trouble, everything is easy to talk about. Well, that's okay. Xieting Zhou nodded and agreed to join the National Vampire Association. But he soon announced his next thoughts. I think stars invented by humans are very interesting, so I plan to be a star and make humans crazy about me. Lan Ruimen and the others were stunned once before saying this, and then they were replaced by Lu Shifeng and Lu Qinhui. Both of them looked shocked. They looked at the vampire prince in front of them. They didn't expect that the vampire prince who had just woken up, I actually want to be a star, is this appropriate? But in fact, Xieting Zhou, who can sense human love, can see love of various colors floating in the air when his Weibo followers increase. The dots are beautiful and fun. In the eyes of a vampire, is a beautiful scenery. If you want to be a star, that's fine, but you may need to take a break first. I'll discuss it with my superiors and open a special entertainment company for you to arrange your entertainment schedule. Do you think it's okay? Although Lu Shifeng didn't understand the vampire prince becoming a star, he instinctively fulfilled any wish of Xieting Zhou. Yes, Xieting Zhou nodded, and the matter was confirmed. After that, Dong Ying brought a lot of contracts for Xieting Zhou to sign. In fact, there was no need to sign, just to see the salary. Chu Dingshan glanced at it and his eyes widened when he knew that Xieting Zhou's basic salary was 1 million a month. It turns out that vampires are so valuable. If I had known he would become a vampire too. However, when listening to the contract, Xieting Zhou was a little curious. You work with vampires, aren't you afraid that they will suck your blood? Looking at the cute little girl in front of him, Xieting Zhou couldn't help teasing her. The fangs in his mouth were exposed, which made Dong Ying laugh after seeing it. I've long been used to it. Just like humans have good guys and bad guys, vampires also have good ghosts and bad ghosts. Not everyone has to kill people, and if my teammates are really hungry, I don't mind them. The ones who sucked me twice are just mysophobia and don't like to bite people's necks, saying that would be embarrassing. Dong Ying stuck out her tongue, thinking of her cute colleagues, and felt that times had indeed changed. In the movies, first love is dreamy and beautiful, but in reality, vampires are speechless when they see their necks. Who wants to bite your neck? Not dirty? Then you humans don't want to study the secret of vampire immortality. Xieting Zhou continued to be tempting, but Dong Ying understood what the vampire prince meant. Of course, research on vampires has been progressing for at least 300 years since the founding of the National Vampire Association. Foreign countries have made progress earlier than us. Facts have proved that vampire blood not only does not make people immortal, but is also, after it is taken out, it will rot into rotten blood, and nothing can be studied at all. This was also something that happened a few years ago. The final outcome of human beings must be the pursuit of immortality. Although vampires exist, they cannot give you a first embrace to keep you long-lived or youthful. Even their blood will rot after leaving the body. What is the medical value? Now this association is to control the regular diet of vampires and fight against some anti-world vampires abroad. After all, domestic vampires grew up on this land even if they became vampires, so they naturally protect their own people. However, the lethality of vampires abroad is crazy, and they continue to kill foreign people. Every year alone there are even countless missing people. When there are special events, the Domestic Vampire Association will go abroad to help deal with such murderous vampire cases. Of course, that country also has to pay high chips. Xietingzhou did not expect to get such a result. After the contract matters were settled, another human, Bizian, appeared with a silver box. This box was cryogenically preserved. After opening it, there was a bag inside. Bag of red blood. Your Highness, I heard that you haven't eaten since you woke up. These are blood bags brought from the blood bank. One part is an artificial blood bag, and the others are from various animals. Do you want to try them? Xietingzhu's eyes fell on the red blood plasma, and he heard Bizian continue to be extremely enthusiastic. Each type of blood has a different flavor. We rely on the taste of vampires to add some flavor to the blood, either meaty or fruity. Which one do you like? Xietingzhou suddenly felt that it would be good to wake up in the modern world and gave the answer without hesitation. Apple flavor. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin. Chapter 140. In the next few days, Xietingzhu's life was good. After all, the food, drink and accommodation problems were solved by the above, and all expenses could be reimbursed. Naturally, Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan also joined the National Vampire Association and officially became national civil servants, because vampires the basic monthly salary is paid according to the grade, and other money will be paid only if there is extra work. Therefore, after learning that these two people were actually dukes, Lu Shifeng and Lu Qinhui's eyes started to bleed when they looked at them. After all, vampires have a strict hierarchy, so as soon as these two people join the National Vampire Association, they will receive a basic salary of 800,000 yuan per month. It can be said that they can just sleep without working hard in the future. I once thought I could make millions a year through live streaming, but I never thought it would happen one day like this. Lan Ruimen was also stunned. Not only that, they also had various subsidies. Every year during the holidays, they would receive gifts from above, including food, drink and clothing. It could be said that they were very considerate. Me too, then you don't have to live broadcast in the future. The two of us will just follow His Highness and serve His Highness. Lin Yan was also stunned, remembering that his hard-working friends were still studying hard, whether they were studying for graduate school or not. Regardless of whether he was taking the public examination, he actually entered the field of civil servants as a different species, which was different from what he imagined. Of course, I want to stay with His Highness the Prince at all times, Lan Ruimen said matter-of-factly, while Chu Dingshan looked on with envy. However, although Chu Dingshan was very thick-skinned when facing the live broadcast room, he could no longer beg His Highness the Prince to turn himself into a vampire at this time. He could only watch helplessly, his love anxiously circling around Xietingzhou, cute very. Xietingzhou likes to look at these cute things the most. Chu Dingshan's love is a small orange ball, and the way it jumps is so cute. As a police officer, Xin Yunqing has received news from the police station. He has been transferred to his post. From now on, he will stay with His Highness for the time being. After His Highness has adapted to life in the human world, he will return to the police station to handle the case. Not only that, Xin Yunqing also found out from his colleagues that Master is now a famous policeman in Shangjing City. In just a few days, Xiangke directly solved more than a dozen cases. It can be said that there was even an old case among them, which can now be said to have become a legend in the Shangjing police circles. Thinking of his infinite power, Xin Yunqing believed that one day he would be able to become a hero like his master. Of course, Xin Yunqing also knew that Director Cao was back. Director Cao originally thought that the vampire incident was a scam, but someone from above placed the document. Director Cao returned to Shangjing City in a daze and anxiously handed over Xie Tinghu's ID card. "Come over. Lu Shifeng and Lu Qinhui came to visit again. Your Highness, your entertainment company has been registered, and its name is Eternal Entertainment Company. You are the only boss and artist. All of us serve you. My sister and I will also stay with you for a while. Take care of your daily life." The above acted quickly and directly approved a very large villa for Xie Tingzhou, covering an area of 5,000 square meters, and various projects inside did not require Xie Tingzhou to pay. Now Lan Ruimen and Lin Yan live here. Chu Dingshan felt that he was out of place here, but after becoming young, he did not dare to go home for fear of scaring his parents, so he could only stay here with his face licked. Yes, Xie Tingzhou didn't care how many people were around him. Anyway, these people are serving him, and things can be done quickly if there are more people. Your Highness, you already have more than 3 million fans on Weibo. If you become a star, I believe you will become famous instantly. However, being a star in the entertainment industry can be divided into several categories: actors, singers, variety shows artist. What do you like? This is the Vampire Prince's first work arrangement. Whether he brings money to join the team or creates his own crew, he must satisfy the Vampire Prince. I like music very much, and I believe that humans will also appreciate my singing. Xie Tingzhou took it for granted. After becoming a vampire, he was so bored that he mastered almost all musical instruments. Now, as long as there is an instrument that can be taken out, there is no instrument that Xie Tingzhou cannot use. Thinking of this, he reached out and picked up the pen and notebook on the table, and quickly wrote a piece of music on it. It seemed that because of becoming a vampire, Xie Tingzhu's ability to appreciate and create music had reached its peak, so in a few minutes' time creates a song. Leave this piece of music to someone to make. After I hear it, I will go and record it. Lu Shifeng saw the music that was handed over and found that His Highness the Prince wrote in Chinese, but simplified Chinese characters had only appeared not long ago. He admired His Highness the Prince's learning ability even more. After all, he could quickly integrate into this society. This Vampire Prince is really amazing. Okay, I'll make the arrangements right now. No matter whether the song sounds good or not, it must be made. Then let's see if this song will be liked by humans. Xie Tingzhou is very lazy. He hasn't slept since he woke up recently. Whether it's playing games or doing something to enjoy, it's quite comfortable. Lin Yan was worthy of being an assistant. He actually had a massage technique that made Xie Tingzhou very comfortable. After swimming, he soaked in the hot spring and let Lin Yan massage him. Such a day was very enjoyable. Lan Ruimen on the side is preparing fruits that Xie Tingzhou likes to eat. There are obviously servants at home, but Lan Ruimen does everything by himself. Now he has figured out Xie Tingzhu's food preferences, not to mention that although His Royal Highness the Prince does not need to rest, but they still like to stay by themselves most of the time, and the time they can serve is very little. Lan Ruimen also successfully terminated the previous overlord contract with the live broadcast company because of his status as a civil servant, which can be said to be a turn of events. We got Xie Tingzhu's music here, and Lu Shifeng, Dong Ying, and others over there have contacted Liang Fei, the most powerful music producer in the entertainment industry. Liang Fei has a music studio and the music he produces can be, it is said that every song is a hit, so this song was quickly sent to Liang Fei. When Liang Feixian played this piece on the piano, his eyes were shining. Oh my God! The person who wrote this piece of music is a genius. Where is he? This piece of music is as beautiful as a dream, and makes people ecstatic. Liang Fei wanted to use the most gorgeous language in the world to describe this song. She was originally a music producer, so the quality of a song could naturally be seen at a glance. This piece is a piano piece, but it feels like something is missing, as if the soul of a beautiful beauty has been taken away. This song is really nice, so I would like to ask you to help me make it. As for the person who created it, he will come over to record it in a week. Okay. Lu Shifeng admitted that there were many things he didn't like about the sudden appearance of His Royal Highness. A secret that neither knows nor understands. Of course. I promise to finish the song in a week, but who is the creator? Can I get to know him? I really want to communicate with him about this song. Liang Fei was so excited that Lu Shifeng finally handed over Xie Ting's contact information to him. In the following week, in addition to making this piece, Liang Fei called Xie Ting every night. The two talked about the history of music development and the emotions that various musical instruments can bring. It can be said that they really hit it off. When it came time to actually record the music, Liang Fei was most looking forward to meeting Xie Ting. When he saw the man with glowing white skin walking in the door, whether it was the long black hair or the golden purple pupils, he was shocked, but he didn't think too much about it. He just felt that being an artist now the only thing is to be unique, and there should be colored contact lenses in the eyes. Xie Ting restrained his sense of oppression and met his recent friend. Liang Fei, nice to meet you. Liang Fei was stunned and immediately reacted, looking at Xie Ting and laughing. I said your name sounds so familiar to me. It turns out that you are the most beautiful sleeping boy who has been on trending searches before. You are indeed handsome, even more handsome in person. After all, she is a woman, and she is still somewhat enthusiastic about handsome guys, so she has also seen the previous hot search Liang Fei. Thank you for the compliment. Xie Ting accepted the compliment without hesitation. He saw that Liang Fei's love was purple and she kept circling around Xie Ting as if she was sizing him up. After that, the two began to record the song in the recording studio. Liang Fei already knew that the song was a humming song. She originally felt soulless when playing piano music, but when Xie Ting entered the recording studio, she slowly hummed out the unknown song. When the famous tune was played, everyone fell silent and listened quietly to Xie Ting singing. For some reason, Chu Dingshan felt so sleepy, his eyelids were fighting, and he wished he could lie down and take a nap right now. Is it because he was too tired from playing games with His Royal Highness yesterday? But it shouldn't be, it's only the morning. Xin Yunqing was also a little sleepy and couldn't help pinching himself, and then tried hard to keep his eyes open. The other staff members were similar. On the contrary, Liang Fei was so excited that her face turned red. When Xie Ting came out of the recording studio, she was praising him in every possible way. This is probably how it feels when you meet a soulmate. There was Xie Ting's humming in that piano piece. I don't know why, but it felt like a person had a soul. But both Lu Shifeng and Lu Qinhui discovered something was wrong with this music. As vampires, they could naturally resist it, but seeing that other humans were almost asleep, was it appropriate to play this kind of music? Xie Ting's voice has its own charm. Although the effect is reduced after recording in the recording studio, listening to such a complete track will make people feel sleepy. Liang Fei also worked hard to wake herself up, and felt that this song would reach a new peak. Because this song is so good for sleeping. What's its name? This is a song that can save many insomniacs. It should be known to everyone. Xieting Zhou naturally knew the magic power of this piece of music and gave an answer. Lullaby, any species that hears it will fall into a deep sleep within half an hour. I have seen many fans on Weibo recently saying that they can't fall asleep after staying up late. With this song, they will definitely be able to fall asleep. Right. Therefore, human beings should like me more. Liang Fei nodded wildly with excitement. Yes. People who have insomnia will thank you. Xieting Zhou. You are the most amazing singer I have ever encountered. You will create a miracle in the entertainment industry.